the Daily Ramble podcast.
Hello Hammers fans, David Moyes here and you're watching Claret and Booze. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Those fucking cunts keep putting donkeys on my head.
Hello everyone and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick. This is the new feature, Claret and Booze fan cams, sofa fan cams for Tommy. How are you, mate? And
Good.
me. I'm basically a sofa fan now myself, more or less, especially under Moyes ball. But are you all good?
Yeah, happy to be making my debut on the fan cams. Yeah, should be interesting.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. I understand you was at the Gaelic football today.
Yes, it was a league match. So here, there are two competitions basically in Gaelic football and hurling. It starts off kind of in the beginning of the year with the league, and then the championship comes around later on. So the league isn't as important as the championship. But yeah,
Okay.
Kerry were playing. As everyone knows, I'm from Tipperary, but I've been living in Kerry for a very long time.
Right.
Kerry were playing at home to Mayo, just 15 minutes in the road from me.
Yeah.
So me and Sinead and my son Jason all went to it, and yeah, it was a nice evening for it. Stayed nice and dry. It was relatively mild, and Kerry won it with the last kick of the game. So nice, exciting
Brilliant.
stuff.
Kerry didn't let you down.
They did not, no.
But West Ham, on the other hand,
No, yeah, that's going to wipe the smile off my face.
mate,
Yeah,
what was your take on that today?
Yeah, we just look like a very poorly coached team that doesn't believe in what it's doing. At times, doesn't seem to know what it's doing. There's a lack of cohesion there. The play is broken. We can't score. We're too easy to score against. And frankly, today, if it wasn't for Areola and the kind of lack of incisiveness from Forest themselves in the final third, that could have been another very embarrassing scoreline.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, like you just said, Areola kept us in the game in the first half. It was shocking, absolutely shocking today. I don't know what I was expecting. Was you?
Yeah, I mean, that was the worry. I mean, on my show last night, I was talking about it, and I was saying, you would hope that you would get a very positive response after what happened against Arsenal, but my fear was the opposite. I actually predicted a 2-0 on my show last night, a loss, that is.
Did you really?
Yeah, and like you, I was not confident whatsoever. I think the players just, to me, don't believe in what they're doing. Like I said, I don't think they're very well coached. I don't think they like the way they're being coached, and it's starting to show now in the results. We were in a false position in the table.
100%. Been saying that for so long.
And I think those of us who were looking beyond the scorelines could see that we were in a false position on the table. We could see we were not playing well, that we were getting away with a lot of things early in the season, and it was obvious that we weren't going to keep getting away with them. I don't know how many times you or I probably have said to each other, if our opponents had been more clinical today, we lose that game. And on the occasions where, and that was true today. I mean, it was only 2-0. It could have been a lot worse.
They had 19 shots on goal.
Yeah, and on the occasions where our opponents have been clinical, we have been absolutely mullered.
Yeah.
4 Villa, 4 Liverpool, 5 Fulham, 6 Arsenal. And it was coming. For some of us, it was coming. There was the Moyes in crowd who were trying to convince themselves and everyone else that all was rosy.
Yeah.
But those of us who were a little bit more discerning and looking just beyond the scorelines in the early games could see what was coming down the tracks if we didn't improve.
Absolutely. I think it was quite plain, especially when you've got the previous season to gauge against. That we was in the 35 game relegation battle. We started this season. It was we got off to a flyer in terms of results, but you could see it was going to fall off, mate, because our forward players were insanely clinical when you consider the amount of chances they was getting. And we were getting an awful amount of luck. Areola, like you said, man in a match after man in a match. sparing our blushes, the opposition missing the target. The stats have come out now as well. Not that people that watch the game with their eyes open need stats to back anything up. All they've done is they've just reinforced it, especially that debrief piece on Sky, which is really good, by the way. I'm glad that somebody has actually sort of dug a little bit deeper into this. But
Yeah,
it's disgusting, mate.
And it shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, I don't know what these so-called sports journalists are doing. All it required was just to scratch it under the surface a little bit.
Yep.
To see what the real issues were. And so many sports journalists, for some reason, were just completely unwilling to do it until whoever it was that wrote that article you just mentioned.
Is it Jason Burt or Adam Burt or something like that?
Someone like that, yeah. And I was so happy to read that because I thought, finally, someone who's actually just done even just the basic kind of little dig.
Yeah.
Just scratch under the surface to see what's really going on at West Ham. Because, you know, a lot of us have been disgruntled for some time about the style of play and unhappy and wanting Moyes out and for him to be replaced. And the lazy sports journalists just look at the league table and scratch their heads and can't understand it. But thankfully, there was at least one journalist at Sky Sports who got at least a bit curious to say, well, hang on a second, there's an awful lot of this fan base that don't want him around anymore. What really is going on? And he's the only one that's actually tried to understand where we're coming from. So he did a little bit of digging, and then he wrote that article explaining to everyone who didn't know why we feel the way we feel.
But it's largely been ignored. I mean, the guy from the Sun, you know, the bloke who I can't think of his name now, Jack Rosser from the Sun. He's been at it again. So after that was posted, you know, these people have got no interest. They've obviously got an agenda themselves, a narrative that they're trying to push. And you've got the likes of Chris Sutton, coming out and saying after the Arsenal game, it's a bit much for West Ham fans to be going like this on the back of one bad result. And you're just like, mate, you fucking moron, honestly.
Yeah, just completely clueless. Doesn't even have a little bit of curiosity as to why the fan base might feel the way they do. Again, just looks at the table and says, what are you moaning about? You know, and you know, these performances, unfortunately, I believe will continue, and I believe the bad results will continue. And at some point, it probably still won't even dawn on Chris Sutton. He'll still make excuses for David Moyes. It's just a blip. You come through it.
We could get blamed. I think if David Moyes is here long enough for the fans to really turn, you know, say for instance, we do see a Burnley 2.0, which is possible, but the Burnley fixture, weirdly enough, falls on exactly the same date when we play them as when it kicked off last time. What could possibly happen, especially with these media guys, is they could feasibly, if it really boots off in the stadium at Burnley, and then he gets kicked out, I could imagine us being blamed. All of the previous results and everything will be ignored. They will be, and it will just be the West Ham fans hounded David Moyes, the great David Moyes, out, because nothing seems to they don't cave, they don't listen, and it just seems so weird, Tommy. Because if you hear, I had a conversation with Simon Jordan and Jim White the other day. They were talking about Palace, about how Palace deserve a better style of play. They did like when obviously Roy was going. Why do we not, for fuck's sake? Why is it okay when Jason Cundy comes out and talks about Spurs and starts cooing and sort of fucking jizzing all over Postecoglou and saying, oh, those poor fans, they've had a few years of Mourinho and Conte ball and look at them now, they're loving it. Why are we not allowed to want that? Because that's the extent of it, Tommy. A lot of people paint us as entitled, that we want David Moyes to go because we want higher league places. That's got fuck all to do with it.
Yeah, I think they look down their noses at clubs like West Ham.
Yeah.
You know, Tottenham fans deserve to be looking at good football because, you know, it's Tottenham, one of the Sky Sports lovely six. And the same with the other big teams. But, you know, us West Ham fans, you know, we need to stay in our box. You know, we need to remember our place, you know, in the Premier League. And, you know, as long as you're, you know, doing okay in the table and you're not under threat of relegation, you should be ecstatic. It's snobbery. Football snobbery is what that is.
It just makes your blood boil. But I mean, where do we go from here, Tommy? When do you see them acting? I mean, for me, for me, I would be expecting something to happen before Monday now. I really would, because you know, it's coming. There's going to be a bad reaction in a stadium. I think it would be mad if they left it until another few games. I think it's crazy to actually sort of let a season crash and burn. You know, we was quite lucky today, really. I think Spurs didn't win. We're still, the season isn't dead. If we were to get going again, we could get back, you know. But to kind of let it peter out is just crazy. What do you expect them to do? Do you think they're going to act, or do you think they will wait until maybe we're out of Europe?
Yeah, I think Sullivan's just going to sit in his hands. Look, any sane person would have sacked him last season. You know,
Yeah.
given, I mean, at one point we were in 19th, didn't look like we could buy a win. And at no point do I really believe he was going to get sacked last season. So it's hard for me to believe he'll be sacked now.
Yeah.
I'll dance a jig if it happens. It should happen. You know, in a sane world, he would be sacked. But we live in Sullivan's world, unfortunately. And, you know, I tweeted earlier that the problem we have is that he doesn't care. Like, Sullivan doesn't get angry or feel humiliated when we lose 6-0 to Arsenal.
No.
He doesn't care that our style of play is awful to watch and is just coma-inducing at times. He doesn't care that we're going on this bad run since the turn of the year. He, like those pundits we spoke about.
But
Looks,
do you?
I'm saying it doesn't anger him like it angers us, Nick.
No, but what I'm saying is we know that he doesn't care about the West Ham fan base or what happens on the pitch. He doesn't care. He cares about the outside media view. Do you think that if we start seeing more people doing what Adam Bake did with the Sky Sports debrief, and there's more exposure to it as to what's happening at West Ham, if the mainstream media start jumping on it, do you think that will start to bother Sullivan?
That possibly would, but I think it would require a real sea change from the sports media. And it's difficult to imagine that the sports media would kind of turn on Moyes in that way, where they'd be kind of talking about, you know, he should be sacked. I don't think they ever really come out and say David Moyes really should go. His position is untenable. His position should be untenable after today.
100%.
It really should. But I have absolutely no expectation that I'll wake up tomorrow or whenever and see that David Moyes has been sacked. I'd love to. It would make me very happy. But I just don't trust that Sullivan has any intention of doing that. I think he'll let him ride it out till the end of the season.
Mate, do you honestly think that's going to be allowed? I mean, if this bad run of form continues, the fan base is going to fucking explode. It's going to explode.
That's what it would take.
Yeah.
I think if it got very, very bad at the stadium, then I think Sullivan might say, "Fucking hell, this is getting a bit hairy. You know, I better do something," because it'd be very cheap for him to sack him now. You know,
because it would be, and the thing that, but again, we was talking about this. I spoke to a few other people earlier on. You're talking about it from a business perspective. I think Sean Whetstone, he said with the amount of time that he's got left on his contract, he worked it out to under 2 million to get rid of him. Well, you lose almost 2 million for every place that you drop in the Premier League.
Yeah,
you look at the likes of Mohamed Kudus, who when he came in, this is just one example, came in off the back of a hat-trick at Ajax. He comes into West Ham, has to wait a little bit to come in. He comes in, he's on fire, scoring goals. His value all of a sudden, we think we're looking at a 70, 80 million pound player. Well, if we allow David Moyes to keep his hands on him for the rest of this season, he ain't going to be a 70 to 80 million pound player, Tommy. He's not, because he's starting to look moist.
Yeah, he's going to turn them into Fornals.
Yeah.
Is what he's going to do. And we're already seeing it. I couldn't believe, again, he's played him on the left wing today. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's a moron.
I know.
Why would you ever put Kudus on the left wing? He's left-footed. All the damage he's done to teams has either been central or coming in off the right-hand wing.
Yeah.
And then you put him out on the left-hand wing, you hamstring him because he can't get a shot away.
No.
And he's clearly not as comfortable out there. You saw that today. Look at the difference of Kudus in those last 15 minutes or so when he was out on the right side.
But for Ajax, Tommy, and for Ghana, he plays as a 10. He's literally in the middle of the team because he's their best player. Much like when Paqueta's not in the team, like today, he's our fucking best player.
Yeah.
So we should be putting our best player in the middle of the park and letting him orchestrate things, get him on the ball as much as possible. And I just think it was a bit of a no-brainer, but it was too much for him to drop both James Ward-Prowse and Souček. He did drop Souček today. What are your thoughts on Calvin Phillips?
Yeah, he's incredibly rusty. I'm actually very surprised at how rusty he is.
Yeah.
He's been getting trained by Pep Guardiola for 18 months.
You wouldn't think so.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more polished, particularly in possession.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some bad passes. I think he was a little unlucky with the sending off, if I'm honest. It didn't look like a lot to me, that challenge. I don't.
I think what it is, there weren't no malice in it. I think the guy is literally off the pace, and he's late. He's just late a lot at the moment. But I don't think up until that point he wasn't terrible. I think he's certainly an improvement on Souček, and I think you have to play him, especially when you consider how much money he's costing us. And we know that he's a good player.
Yeah,
we've got to play him into form. But it was a ridiculous fucking signing to sign someone that wasn't going to be ready until I don't know what the tail end of the season.
Yeah, he's barely kicked the ball in 18 months. I mean, to expect him to come in and be the Calvin Phillips we remember from Leeds, I think was never really going to happen. And now Moyes has put himself in a bit of a spot now because Calvin Phillips would have come here on the understanding that he was going to play, because he didn't come here. He didn't leave Man City's bench for West Ham's bench.
No,
So Moyes has put himself in a spot here where he knows Calvin Phillips expects to play. Now he'll be suspended next week, so that won't be an issue. But
Souček's back.
Yeah, so he can't just put him on the bench and leave him there.
No, he can't.
Because we're paying him too much anyway.
No, I agree, mate. And just quickly, did you?
No, just to clear, I think Calvin will come good. I think he just needs a game time, and he'll come good.
Yeah, and I think he's a good player. And I kind of liked a little bit what I was seeing today. He looks a bit gritty. He looks a bit nasty. I think he's going to be the type of player that I think West Ham fans would really, really like when he's fully at it, because he's aggressive. He's an aggressive player, and he's also a ball player. So to have him and Alvarez together, I think it could work in the future. Yeah. Maybe not this season. The only good thing is, I'll tell you what, Tommy. The only good thing is we're devaluing him by the minute, so we should get a good deal for him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, we'll get him for wages paid. Yeah,
we will.
But yeah, do you know what? Speaking of which, I thought Alvarez was fucking quality today.
He always is.
He's a brilliant footballer, mate.
That's got to be our captain, Tommy. He's got to be our captain.
He's got captain written all over him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a leader. He's. I mean, in a really, really poor performance, I thought he was the one player I thought that looked really good for us out there. Did a great job.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. But I think he always is. He is Mr. Reliable. The only issue you've got, which he didn't do today, he gets very frustrated when things ain't going well. He gets fucked off. I thought that was a type of game today where he could have lost his head, but no, it's just shit. We was shit. It was as expected. It was rubbish. Nottingham Forest deserved their win. They were far better than us. Far better than us in every way.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely nobody could argue with that result. You could make no case for us getting anything out of that game. Moyes, as usual, just got it all wrong. I couldn't believe Antonio started this game up front. I was like, what are you doing?
He's obviously desperate, though, isn't he? He's desperate for
it looked like a desperation move.
Yeah, because he weren't ready. Antonio was trying, bless him. He was.
Oh, look, you'd never question his attitude.
No.
It's just he's been out for too long, and before he was out, he was dropped because his form was so poor. I genuinely think Antonio now is just over the hill. I just don't think he offers anything really at this point. I couldn't believe he was starting the game. I thought, he's been out for so long. How can you start him? And he's not even like our talismanic forward anymore. He's not that player. No. It's gone.
But don't you think it was just? I think it was good to bring Antonio in just to stop us killing Bowen down the middle, because I don't think that was doing him any good. Playing Bowen down the middle.
No, he didn't have to do that. But can I also say, I think if I was Ben Johnson, I'd have been absolutely fucking fuming.
Livid. He should be replacing Soufal, mate.
Yeah, how is Sufel starting ahead of Johnson at this point?
No.
I mean, Johnson came in, was given an opportunity by Moyes, not even in his position,
Yeah,
in bloody midfield, and I thought he grasped it with both hands.
he did.
I thought he was the one redeeming feature, in the games against United and Arsenal. I thought, he did. In the 2 games he played, excuse me, or 3 games, whatever it was, I thought he actually did really well in those games, and he was one of the very few players that did. And then to just drop him for Sufal, who's been terrible.
It's been
It
awful,
just,
mate.
I just fucking can't. I'll never understand how Moyes' mind works. It's just an absolute mystery to me. He can't see what's right in front of his own face, and I don't get it.
I'll never understand it. He doesn't help himself. I mean, if the rumours are true, which apparently they are, that he did turn down Wilfred Zaha for the left-hand side, then there's something fucking mentally wrong with him. I'm sorry, because we were desperate, Tommy, and he would have been excellent for us. Exactly what
I
we
mean,
needed.
there's a fucking player that's going to come in and hit the ground running.
Yeah, 100%.
And just give you a real attacking. I mean, Premier League players know the threat he carries. I mean, the opposing managers are saying, okay, fucking hell, now not only do we have to account for Kudus and Bowen, now we have
Got
to
Zaha.
account for fucking Louis Zaha, and you can't do it. You can't.
And you imagine when Paqueta's back, if you play Paqueta behind those players, the fun he would have.
Yeah.
Picking those players out, But anyway, Tommy,
say that to Moyes, he gets a cold shiver.
yeah, I know he does, mate. But did you hear Moyes' post-match press conference, the really spiky one?
No, I didn't have time, thankfully, and I don't tend to listen to them anyway because he just talks a lot of bollocks. But
he was really spiky in this one, mate. Really spiky. I'll try and recite it. He kind of did his usual. They asked him about the banners. Talking about the banners, we got Charlie on, who basically was who owns those banners. He's coming on shortly. Yeah, he basically said that I'm not too sure what the players want. He ended it with West Ham fans. They might have had players that maybe have entertained them more, but sat in this seat, I'm the one that's won most. And he kind of just looked very sternly, really arrogant, mate. It's his most arrogant. It was the equivalent for me, worse, I think, as the Sam Allardyce ear cupping. It's the worst one yet. The worst one yet. I'll send it to you. I'll flick it on to you.
Yeah, it's an astonishing amount of arrogance, really.
Really arrogant, really bad.
Yeah, but he always gets that way whenever he's under pressure or he takes any criticism. He can't take it. He can never hold his hands up.
No.
And take any accountability for anything.
Well, he didn't really take full accountability for the 6-0. He said, well, I've kind of got to take some of the blame, but then the players have as well. And he tore into the players. You just think every now and then, just fucking hold your hands up, be a human, you absolute prick. I can't stand him. I can't stand him.
I think it's arrogance. I think he really believes in his own mind that he's this incredible manager. He really believes he's probably West Ham's best ever manager. In his head, he's a legend. Right. He's a legend in his own mind.
He is in his own mind, and some fans, but that number is growing smaller and smaller. If Twitter is a reflection of that, my God, some of the people that have switched and flipped, gone bang, Moyes out, I'm done. Quite a few
actually, some of them kind of surprised me. Like people who are now realizing that his position is untenable, and people I didn't expect to get to that point yet. So
same here.
So it has turned completely, and
but that is good. But that is good, Tommy, because although we've had months and months of shit, I've been arguing with people. I've had people fucking memeing me and calling me all sorts. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that the West Ham fan base is galvanised. We're stronger together. We've got more chance of getting our own way if we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Sometimes I do feel like Sullivan does play the divide and conquer game, and I think it suits him to have fans divided sometimes.
Yeah, it does, but it's not going to save him at this point because I think Twitter can give you a little bit of a false impression that there are more Moyes people than there actually are.
Yeah.
I think they're a very small minority now. Very small. They're loud on Twitter and they talk a lot of bollocks on Twitter.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think in raw numbers, I think they're very much in a very small minority. So they're not going to be able to save Moyes in the stadium when it turns.
No, not at all, mate. Right, and just to close this call, what would you like to say to David Sullivan? What do you want him to do at this point?
I would say to David Sullivan, you might not be angry when we lose 6-0 at home to Arsenal. You might not care about this horrific style of play that the fans have to watch. You might not care that we're sliding down the table. It might not make you angry. It might not make you upset because, as far as I'm concerned, you're not a West Ham fan. So you don't feel what we feel. But if you have, given how long you've been at the club, if you have any kind of flicker of emotion when it comes to the fans, you've got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You cannot make us endure this till the end of the season because it's spiraling now. This is not going to suddenly turn around. The players do not believe in what he's doing. They're clearly not coached very well. They don't like what they're being asked to do. They know it's dross. And we're going to end up with the likes of Paqueta and Kudus and God knows who else putting in transfer requests because they can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible. You can get rid of him right now on the cheap. And we can see this season out either with an interim manager or caretaker, whatever it is. I think personally that Graham Potter, I don't know if Graham Potter would be interested in the West Ham job permanently.
Yeah.
But I think even if he's not, if he wants to see what his options are in the summer,
To the end of the
he'd be
season.
happy to come in till the end of the season.
Yeah.
But say he's not doing anything. I say, Graham, come in.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's a good, isn't it? A good test bed for both sides.
Yeah, he can come in. He can take the last 14 or 13 games plus Europa League, whatever it is. Say, Graham, look, we're not going to hold you to anything beyond the end of the season. We can have a chat at the end of the season. If you change your mind, that's fine. If not, you want to walk away, that's fine too. I think Graham Potter would come in and say, yeah, I'll steer the ship till the end of the season.
Yeah.
Probably would be good for him too. I mean, if he came in and did a really good job and turned it around, and had us really playing really good football and getting really good results and brought us up the table, qualified us for Europe, or maybe even took us to Europa League final or something. I mean, that would do wonders for his prospects in the summer too, even if it wasn't to be with West Ham.
Yeah, no, of course.
So I think Potter would come in as a caretaker manager till the end of the season.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, make the phone call and say, look, Graham, you want to come in, just steer the ship till the end of the season? If you get a positive answer, then why would you not pull the trigger?
Absolutely.
And to be honest, even if you're going to give it to Heitinger till the end of the season, I don't care anymore.
I'll tell you what I don't want, Tommy. I don't want it to get to the stage where they make the West Ham fans look fucking horrible to everyone because we can sack the manager. Like we said earlier on, if it gets to the stage where it's like Burnley and it's really fucking bad, the West Ham fans can sack the manager. We can do that. He shouldn't do that to us. He should be brave enough to do what for him to drive us to that stage will be unforgivable, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, Jesus, I mean, talking about not having your finger on the pulse.
I know.
I mean, like all he has to do is have his finger on the pulse a little bit just to realise he's got to get rid of him.
I agree, mate. I agree.
I mean, if he keeps him on beyond this point, beyond this game today, I mean, it almost feels like he's doing it out of spite.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't doubt that, and I wouldn't put anything past him. But anyway, Tommy, thank you very much for that, mate. I'm going to talk to Charlie now. You can continue watching this in the chat in the lobby if you want.
I'm going to go have a shower, mate. So I'll
worries.
back later. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care, bud.